Welcome to the Mojo Market Report. Here's your hosts, Dave Sturchio and Chris Gueci.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mojo Market Report right here on a football Monday. It is Dave Sturchio, Chris Gueci, and of course A5 Anthony behind the glass here at Chop Studios. A fantastic football Sunday for most of us. A fantastic Thursday Thanksgiving slate. I know you did tune in on a Friday to our preview for the Week 12 Sunday slate, but now I'm here to actually show you some enthusiasm because the Dallas Cowboys are 8-3. So I wasn't able to do that on Friday, but I am excited about that. Anyway, we'll get into a lot of stuff. The NFL Week 12 slate delivered in certain ways and at least gave us an idea of what's to come, maybe a little bit of little extra something.
I just worked myself up into a mini rage over here as I'm looking at certain players' share prices in relation to other players' share prices, and we're going to be talking about all these guys today.
Are you angry?
It just so happens. I wouldn't say I'm angry. I more so feel like I just found myself a nice little opportunity.
Okay.
That's how we're going to put that.
All right, good.
I mean, I have talked about it in the past on this show. Mm-hmm. We'll get into it in a few.
All right, cool.
I don't want to spoil it.
All right, sounds good. A lot of stuff went down in the NFL. Denver, I mean, again, woof, they can't get it right. You got defensive tackles yelling at Russ now. So I think that was it supposed to be motivation or
small part of me feels bad. Yeah. I don't know why. Like it looked like Russ. Like it all finally came to a head. Yeah. And he's like, all right, I guess the ship sailed. What do you think? Do you think Russ was like, pass? Gotta yell runner pass, or was it the let's ride? Did he whisper to him?
That's what people have said it, like he was like,
gotta yell runner pass.
MF, four-letter word, and Russ is like, all right, let's ride. So Russ loses again. That's a bad situation. We did say on Friday to go long on all the Dolphins. I think that was a decent play. I think the Dolphins scored a bunch of points. Tua actually came out in the third quarter, or late third quarter, early fourth, because they were up handily, and all of a sudden the Texans started to inch their way back into the game. Some life, but nothing to avail there. Tua never really had to get things going again, so that was fine.
No.
Tom Brady served up another L. That's big news. I mean, like that division.
He's finally lost as a divorcee.
Yes, it's finally yes. So that's a big mojo movement as well.
I think he's a divorcee.
Divorcee?
Divorcee?
I think it's divorcee.
But is there a divorcer and a divorcee?
The one who issues it is the divorcer.
Yeah, but I guess he's a divorcee because I don't think
in any event he's a loser.
Yeah.
On Sunday, so another big L from Tom Brady. That's a big one because Cleveland again with nothing to play for.
I do that all the time.
What you trip yourself up on the.
We've had this conversation.
Yeah, we have at length actually. Anyway, Cincinnati they get out of Tennessee with a win, another win without Jamar Chase, so that's interesting to say the least.
And no Joe Mixon.
And Samaje Perine getting things going over there in Cincinnati, so they get a win there. The Commanders have officially entered the chat as far as a playoff team. Now, all four NFC East playoff teams, or at least NFC East teams, are in the playoffs if the playoffs started today. I don't know if that's going to last. Just based off of what I watched yesterday, I don't know. We'll see. And I guess you could say the Cardinals stink. They blow another lead, and I don't know. The press conference was left to be desired.
The only thing that's up in the air, I would say, is Atlanta, Tampa. I feel like the playoff picture in the NFC is. I hate to say this, it's
crystallized. Is it done?
I mean, you're looking at who has the outside chance. Detroit?
No,
do they? Green Bay? We were talking about.
So 7-5 is the last seed right now, and I believe right behind them are 6-win teams. So I think there's still some hope for other teams. I just don't know who right off the top of my head.
I don't think there is any 6-win teams. The Rams.
We're going
to NFC. The NFC West East is all in as of now.
Yeah. No, I knew that already.
And then it's Seattle. After that, Washington, no.
Yeah, Detroit with 4 wins. Seattle. All right, so the loser of the NFC West is going to compete for one of those spots. So that's the big
or Detroit,
Seattle.
If Detroit could get themselves in the mix. I think Seattle beat up on Detroit already.
I don't know, man. NFC looks a little bleak for those that are in the hunt.
The playoff picture looks like it's all but set. The big win yesterday was Atlanta losing to Washington because that really was one of the games where you could say, okay, Atlanta could put themselves in the mix with a win here. It would have evened the records.
Yeah, but they're still in the conversation for the division. They're a half game out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But point being is if that flips, the division flips, then Washington it was still a big game in terms of the NFC playoff picture yesterday.
Yeah. Anyway, so we got to get into some top movers from yesterday. And, of course, the game that's most fresh in our heads is watching Jalen Hurts run all over the Packers. And, again, no, not to dig on you is I just don't want to do that, not on a Monday at least. But Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles over 350 yards on the ground. But the bigger story, obviously, Jalen Hurts, just this time last year, guys, he's up 64%. And by the way, he's got a 10-time multiplier. And by the way, he's the one making me some cheddar over on my portfolio. And I strongly suggest if you're the guy that's in on Jalen Hurts now or were, it's one of those guys that you just, that's a set and forget. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to keep delivering.
I've been talking about it. I still think Tua's vastly undervalued. I think Jalen Hurts is still vastly undervalued. You're looking at the MVP odds. I think he should be passing Josh Allen at this point.
I mean, based off of what I've seen Josh Allen do in the last couple of weeks, yeah.
I mean, they have won 2 in a row. I get that. But he's thrown bad picks, and they had a little hiccup 2 games in a row. Yeah. So I would say with Jalen Hurts, they stumbled a little bit as well, but they still only have 1 loss. And in the game that they stumbled, they almost won. Right? It was the Washington game. They had a couple things go against them late. The Quez Watkins fumble, for example. If you're looking at him in comparison to the other quarterbacks that he's competing with in terms of MVP, and he's the best. They have the best team in the NFL right now. I think Jalen Hurts clearly undervalued. And Tua, what do these guys got to do? He didn't even move up 1%. I understand it was the Texans, but they benched him after. Benched him is the wrong word.
They gave him the rest of the day off.
They rested him. They rested him from the third quarter on. So, I mean, Tua and Hurts, you got to be in on these two.
Yeah, and just stat line, not as crazy through the air. Jalen Hurts, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns. There was no need for it because he ran 17 times for 157 yards. He averaged 9 yards a carry. The Green Bay rush defense was just, there's nowhere to be found.
I honestly feel like he could have ran for 250 yards if they would have just dialed it up every single time, because there was simply no answer. He had 100 yards in the first quarter.
God, yeah, you're right. Jeez.
100 rush yards in the first quarter, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's tough sledding.
Yeah, it was hard to watch. It's the hardest brand of football to watch if you're a fan of a team, is to just watch them not be able to make tackles.
If you had, I was going to say, missed tackles was
getting
rough.
to the point in the backfield several times. I understand not being able to bring a quarterback down when he's scrambling, but these are pretty much run plays. So
yeah, I mean, this is just. They had a lot of these guys dead to rights in the backfield, and then all of a sudden just kept going.
If coordinators are going to be on the market with these coaches, because short Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator for the Packers. If so, definitely short that dude.
Which high-profile name do you want this time? I mean, you went out and got Pistachio, who was the interim coach.
Give me
for the special teams.
Zero high.
You got yourself a special teams guy. Returner looked good.
Yeah, he's all right.
He's all right. That's about the only thing.
We'll see how it plays out. They'll probably cut him after.
There is one thing, the little tiny shriver glimmer of hope for the Packers, and that is Jordan Love. Now, Jordan Love last night. Look, you said it a couple weeks ago. You did. So if anybody listened to Chris a couple weeks ago, you would have hit this spike because of the fact that you said that, look, Rodgers is banged up. It's been a whole year where he's been banged up. It's not looking good for Aaron Rodgers' health and longevity going forward. So you're like, you might want to sprinkle a couple bucks over on Jordan Love. Sure enough, last night, a couple hits later, listen, Aaron Rodgers has broke my heart more times than I can even count, right? He did it again this year in particular, which, again, the Packers are 4-8. All of a sudden, the one big win is against Dallas, and it eats away at me. However, as a human, I felt terrible for this guy yesterday. He was wincing after every throw. I was like, it is time, bro. It is time. Nobody's going to question your legacy at this point, Aaron. You just take right off into the sunset. And now I'm hearing, I'll be fine. I'm playing against Chicago. I'm like, dude, you don't have to. Like, let's see what this kid's got. And then Jordan Love gets the call. And then all of a sudden, he's slinging it, man. And even I think there was a drop by Aaron Jones on the out route. That was a beautifully thrown ball, back shoulder, right? So what have you seen out of Jordan Love? Are you optimistic that this guy could be the dude? Because right now, if you look at Jordan Love's, his percentage, obviously, he's $5.56. He's super cheap.
Let's talk about this.
And he's a 3-time multiplier if you want him. So and last night, he's up significantly.
This is where the disrespect starts and ends, right here. All right, look, so Jordan Love, Jaron Hall, and Dylan Gabriel.
College quarterbacks.
That's the two people that are sandwiching Jordan Love. And now I'm not saying that I'm a college football enthusiast by any stretch. I do watch, I do bet on the games, and the bigger players. And as we're approaching draft season, I'll know a player or two.
The research will pick
but
up.
I don't know who these guys are, right? And I know Jordan Love's been in the NFL now this is his 3rd season. He has some banked value. He's He's only played in 3 NFL games that are worth noting.
Started one.
And that was a road game against the Chiefs, and they only lost by 1 point. Now, Jordan Love got blitzed heavily in that game. Every single play, he was under duress. Spagnuolo did a good job, but they only lost by 1 point on the road, so he did enough to keep them in the game, and they had chances to win that game late, right? This season, he went 4 for 5 in a little bit of a garbage time, right, against the Vikings, but not bad, 65 yards. And then yesterday, we all saw what he looked like. He only had 2 incompletions that I thought were his fault, but one of them was even just like kind of the play. It was smart to throw it away. 10 for 14, 188 yards and a touchdown on the season so far. You know, on the road against Kansas City, on the road in a tough spot against Philly.
You would like to see what this guy could do at home.
I would like to see what Jordan Love could do at home, but I'm pleased to see that there's been progress. Each time I've seen Jordan Love play, you know, you expected the struggles in his first start against Kansas City on the road, right? You expected him to struggle. Maybe even he didn't even dress in his rookie season, but the progression's been there. In preseason this year, he did well.
They touted that he was leaps and bounds better than last year.
Devondre Campbell saying that he's a starting quarterback in the NFL right now. And guess what? Aaron Rodgers is in practice with him. And everybody's saying that Aaron Rodgers is going to retire. He doesn't look interested. I mean,
well, keep in mind, just sidebar, every Wednesday, Aaron Rodgers gets off.
Yeah, that's
what I'm
Jordan Love's getting the work with the ones.
Every week this year.
And look, but Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers knowing what Jordan Love is capable of doing, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to be Aaron Rodgers, if that makes sense, because the same situation happened with Brett Favre, then he needs to stay on the field. And he saw him look pretty good yesterday. I know that the Packers are handcuffed. They really can't move off of Rodgers unless there's a trade. But guess what? You know, Aaron Rodgers, I think the Packers would definitely trade him if they had reason to believe that Jordan Love, let's say Rodgers is hurt for a couple more weeks and Jordan Love lights it up. Do you think that there's a guarantee that Green Bay moves forward with Rodgers next year?
Well, I just want to say this. Just Tom Pelissero of NFL Network came out with a tweet last night. Almost 15 years ago to the day, November 29, 2007, Aaron Rodgers replaced an injured Brett Favre in Dallas and set the stage for the transition for the following year. Jordan Love replaces an injured Rodgers in Philly, promptly threw a 63-yard touchdown pass. A little bit more, right? Ready for this? From my friend RJ Ochoa over at Blogging the Boys. Thinking a little bit more symmetry between the moments is amazing. Rodgers was in his third year. Love is in his 3rd year. The Packers were on the road for both games facing an NFC East leader that was 9-1 at the moment and a wild card play. It's just crazy how history kind of repeats itself.
Yeah.
But look, Jordan Love, it was exciting to watch, man.
The only difference between that season, though, was that the Packers finished 13-3, and they did lose a home game. They hosted the NFC Championship that year. The Packers aren't hosting anything in the playoffs this year.
Maybe a couple home games the rest of the year.
And I will say this though, and I do want to touch on one thing before we move on off this topic. There was a tweet made by Mojo, someone in the Mojo's Twitter department, made a tweet saying that
Tom,
wow, the Packers really drafted Jordan Love and passed up on Michael Pittman Jr. and T. Higgins. And I made a comment on said tweet. It's the only tweet that I ever got any action on. I think like 3 or 4 people looked at it, right?
This is breaking news here, folks.
I got a little bit of action. I said I wouldn't trade Jordan Love for either player right now. And I'll stand by that.
You double down?
T. Higgins is about to get paid, right? Jordan Love's a quarterback. And Michael Pittman Jr. is...
Michael Pittman Jr. is dealing with 2 bad quarterbacks in a row. Like with Carson Wentz and now into Matt Ryan.
And Jordan Love is dealing with like a Hall of Famer playing in front of him. So
who would you rather be, folks? Vote now. It's like
I'm not saying at the time of the draft pick I would have taken T. Higgins.
Yeah, of course,
100%,
1,000%.
And I would have taken Pittman in hindsight. Over the 2 years we could have used him, right? But now, as it stands, no way. And even reinforced it with that play yesterday. No way. Also, Christian Watson. Scores a touchdown every game.
Every game.
Also drops a pass every game.
Yeah, literally had 0 going into like 2-3 weeks ago. Now he's leading the NFL.
He's the new T.O.
Unbelievable. All right, let's get on the local front, right? Because everybody, we talked about it on Friday. We had the whole we don't know thing, but we actually found out very quickly that the Jets were moving on, at least temporarily, from Mr. Zach Wilson. Now, Zach Wilson was our guy for a little while, right? We're like, this is it. Get in on him. Local front. Everybody jump on the Mojo train. The hype train is real. Zach Wilson benched. Boom, there goes his stock. Now, what do we do with Mike White? I was like, well, how about Joe Flacco? And Joe Flacco's like, nah, I'm good, man. I'll just back up. And just give me the headset. I'm good. So now Mike White season is upon us. And again, the question is this. He goes 22 for 28, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, a 78% completion percentage. The guy absolutely slaughtered his debut this year, right? My question is this. Is it Mike White season or is it we played the Bears? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, his big numbers, he's got a 3-time multiplier, by the way. He could have been up, ready for this, 90% yesterday if you had a 3-time multiplier on him.
Yeah.
Unreal game out of Mike White. But is it Mike White season or is it Mike White just beat the brakes off the Bears?
I think a combination of the two. One, it is not Zach Wilson season, right?
It's
that's
not.
it.
It's like Fox the Bears went hibernating.
Fox did him dirty with that graphic. Did you see
I missed the graphic.
It was like last week's second half offense, and they literally showed a graphic 2 inches per play. Oof. That was a tough look for Zach. And honestly, I think we could finally call him Zach now. If anybody knows, there's like legend has it. There was a situation on this show where I made graphics for Zach Wilson and I spelled it with an H.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I think he spelled it with a K and it's with an H. And that's why we call him Zach.
So he's actually Zach Wilson. Now I added a T.
He's 1,000% Zach Wilson.
I just botched that joke. But anyway, not as big of a joke as Zach Wilson.
Oh!
And not as big of a joke as as how I see like too close to each other in share prices with Jordan Love and Mike White.
Mike White,
that's what really made me
undrafted.
mad.
Cowboys picked him up, had him on the practice squad for a little while. The Jets make a move, and they've made a legend.
Do you know who's going to be the quarterback for the New York Jets next year?
Mr. Aaron Rodgers.
Mr. Jimmy Garoppolo. I was going to say Garoppolo, but Jimmy G. He's like the tailor-made perfect quarterback for this situation. It's
interesting.
Robert Saleh's a 49er guy. He's running that Jets offense very similar to the way LaFleur is definitely under that same cloth. So it makes sense. Bring over the quarterback that you know is down to hand the ball off a ton of times and could make plays in a pinch. He's 10-2 when he has 0 touchdown passes. Right? That's Jimmy G. That's his brand of football. I think that as good as Mike White looked, we could chalk it up to a Taylor Heineke situation where Taylor Heineke's came in and he played good in playoff games. He's played good in spurts. And then
He's playing good right now.
This past offseason, they brought in Carson Wentz to replace him.
It's called a mistake.
It is called a mistake, but the point that I'm making is
miss
that
a lot more
Mike White
mistakes from that franchise.
You're not gonna avoid looking for a quarterback in the offseason because you have Mike White. Much the similar situation to whereas like Taylor Heineke, you're not gonna same deal. They're not gonna just anoint him the job in the offseason. They're gonna look to replace him as well. And they're dying to play Zach Wilson, it seems, honestly. Like, they're not going to just let this ride out and him not play. Mike White's
The only thing
struggle.
I wanted to see was every time that the Jets scored a big touchdown, Mike White was going absolutely ham. I just wanted them to pan over to Zach Wilson, see if he was at least clapping.
He was not happy.
It's over,
He
right?
was not happy.
You know what?
Zach Wilson was not happy.
So apparently, from what I'm getting word right now that there is a Mike White statue being built right outside of MetLife. And a little bit better than the Washington Commanders statue about Sean Taylor. My God.
The funny thing is, they actually have a place for it, the Mike White statue. They built one last year after they win against Cincinnati, and then the next week they had to knock it down. So then they were like, oh,
So
where should we put this new one?
Planted.
It's like, we'll just put the statue right where we put that last one. And then next week when he gets his... We'll knock that one down as well, right? And then Jordan Love might actually get some respect in the Mojo.
Wow.
Market.
All right. So it's basically Jordan Love versus Mike White. Battle to the death. All right. So moving on. Oh, by the way, also can't not talk about Garrett Wilson. An unbelievable game out of him as well. 5 catches, 95 yards. He catches 2 touchdowns.
Take your pick at which rookie receiver is going to be the best.
Every week is somebody else. You're right. Garrett Wilson was quiet for a couple times, and maybe that's because of Zach. But now he's back, and even Elijah Moore getting involved. Did you hear that press conference, or at least his media availability? Elijah Moore.
No.
Okay, so you know how OBJ has a relationship with a kicking net back in the day, right? Remember when you got fight?
What happened with OBJ yesterday?
He fell asleep. Everybody's getting mad. Like Jerry Jones, like, I don't care what that boy does. Get on the big
Brings
star.
that price tag. Probably Jerry Jones spread the rumor, had him arrested.
Yeah, right.
Arrest him.
Get him off the plane right now.
Bad news in the media. It's
right.
Bring the contract down.
$2 million off. No, but what I was going to say is, what was I going to say? Oh, Elijah Moore, right? He catches a big ball, and he's balling out last night too. And he said that he
How big?
What? Big catch?
Big ball.
Big ball. But anyway, so he said that he has a relationship with the ball and he misses her. And he said he had a conversation with her yesterday and kissed her and said, like, oh, I'll be back. Don't you worry. And sure enough, Mike White is the matchmaker. He gets the ball back in Elijah Moore's hands. So shout out to Mike White, just matchmaker, MVP candidate.
Shout out to Elijah Moore for making it weird. Yeah. Right? Needed to hear that this morning.
Definitely
I didn't hear it. No, what did he say? And then I was like, well.
Go on. Tell me all about it.
Wish I didn't ask.
Yeah, right.
That's good.
Yes, so another guy that we actually kind of questioned on this show a couple times was the performance and leadership and attitude and character of one Trevor Lawrence. Now, Trevor Lawrence doesn't control the play calling. I'm sure he wasn't the one barking up Doug Peterson's tree saying, go for 2, I want this.
Oh, he was.
No, doubtful.
But he wasn't saying it like that.
No, he probably always said, hey, man, just you could go for 2 if you want. I mean, we could probably do this.
Yeah. Or not. I don't care.
Or just whatever, But no, Trevor Lawrence has himself a day, but the biggest focus is on the guy that was catching up balls from him, and that's Zay Jones. Zay Jones, dude, something to be said about Zay. 14 targets, 11 catches for 145 yards. He's up 30% from this point last year. So Zay Jones, all of a sudden, now, are you in on a Zay Jones because of the fact that you spend all that money on Christian Kirk, right? You do have a balanced running game when Etienne is healthy. Trevor Lawrence may or may not be that dude right now, but Zay Jones, he's catching balls. So,
he's playing a little above his pay grade, which is a good thing because eventually, I think, when you're playing above your pay grade, you're not a risk to be cut, right?
Right.
So they brought him in. He's 27. He's not really like the blue chipper, but if you look at the way Derek Carr was talking about him last year when he had that game winner.
Loved him.
So he's liked by his teammates. He's universally liked in the locker room. That's a good thing. And the numbers, man, like you talked about the 14 targets yesterday, that's 2 straight games with 10 or more and 3 in the last 5, right?
That's pretty good.
But we're talking Trevor Lawrence here, right? Trevor Lawrence, 16 touchdowns and 6 picks, 2 300-yard games, 2 games.
So he's quietly having himself a decent season.
We talk about the Justin Fields, the Zach Wilsons of the world, right? Who is the quarterback in this class? Like, or is there a good one? And as recent as a couple weeks back, I said, I'm not so sure about Trevor Lawrence. Maybe even last week. Probably NFL Films had a little bit to do with it, but that mic'd up thing, I just can't get over it.
Can't get over it. The fact that he's not a high energy guy.
But in my fantasy leagues that I'm in, the one that I'm commissioning, I looked this morning. He's the number 10 overall quarterback.
Fraudulent league, by the way. Anyway.
Why? Because you suck in it?
Yeah, I'm not doing very well. I'm going to cut down leagues next year. Next year, my goal is to run my own, like I have for the last 20 years, and do the Mojo. That's it. That's all I want to do. That's it.
Well, you're
That's
not quitting the Dynasty League.
Oh, I'm out. I'm out. Anyway, so big ups to Zay Jones and Trevor Lawrence, obviously getting a very, very emotional win over there in Jacksonville. Speaking of emotional wins, I guess these guys have to leave it up for the dramatic and get, what?
Travis Etienne said he's going to play next week.
He seemed like he was all right. I did see that. He got banged up. What was it? Hamstring issue? Quad? Something lower.
Foot.
Oh, foot. Okay, so we'll see about that. These players, they like to come out because their adrenaline rush is skiing. We're like, I'm in. Don't even worry about it. They wake up tomorrow and they're like,
we'll
I can't walk.
Out. He has no say.
He really doesn't. He doesn't have any say whatsoever. But anyway, there's also one Josh Jacobs. We've been talking about Josh Jacobs for an entire season now because of just how good he's been, how good he's continued to be. The Raiders are a lost cause, obviously, but for the last 2 weeks, they've made things very interesting as far as their games in specific. 2 walk-off wins in a row now for the Las Vegas Raiders, and this one on a massive run by Josh Jacobs. It's so funny. See, if you're on the local front here in New York and New Jersey, they took this game off. The red zone was running out of time. So the red zone's not allowed to play one standalone game. So Scott Hansen, who's one of the hardest workers in the business right now, said, hey, head on over to your local CBS and watch the end of this game. But guess what, folks? Local CBS was not carrying the Raiders game. So I did not know what was happening with the Raiders game until I was watching the Fox post game. We're talking, Strahan's talking to this guy, Strahan, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, Howie Long busts out of nowhere. He goes, the Raiders just won in overtime. And I said, what? I had to pull up my NFL ticket just to see it, and there goes Josh Jacobs. Now, is Josh Jacobs the guy that you're looking at right now? Because again, up another 6%. The multiplier. He has a 5-time multiplier. So if you're in long term on Josh Jacobs, something that we noticed when we started this show was that new contracts will affect your price. Especially with Russell Wilson. I don't know what the heck happened after that, but the rest is history with Russ. This guy, he's gonna walk, you would assume. And he keeps stacking massive performance after massive performance. Is Josh Jacobs somebody you have to target now simply because he's going to get a contract somewhere.
I think he's going to get, I don't know. I do think he's going to eventually get a contract somewhere, but I don't think it's going to be a long-term deal in this offseason. I think he's going to get franchise tagged. He's like a tailor-made spot to get tagged. And honestly, I hate to say this for Giants fans, but him and Saquon are like in the perfect situation for they're not, but the teams are. Because, like they both warrant a big payday, but you're also a little hesitant to give them that long-term big payday because the position. You just don't want to pay a running back. You see, not that the Cowboys are paying the price for it, but
they will eventually. That's going to catch up.
The conversation is the contract. They could have Amari Cooper. We'll just say that. Not to make it about that because it's really not. But the understanding that they've paid Derek Carr and Devontae Adams a ton of money, and they're going to have to pay a running back that much money as well. It looks like they're going to probably tag him. He'll be upset all offseason, and then he'll come in and play, and he'll be fine. I'm not sure the Raiders are going to be fine. I'm not sure Derek Carr will be there next year.
Derek Carr, he's out skis. I'm sorry. Just based off of what I saw last night, considering the fact that the Raiders, even with a win, are going to find themselves probably in the top 5 of the draft.
They're not now. If I looked, like the Raiders are sitting outside the top 10 now.
No, they're 4-8, man.
Yeah, they were.
How many bad teams are in this league?
A lot.
Clearly.
Do I have to start naming them?
No.
Yeah,
I'll just go see right now. Hold on. The Raiders are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the last. They're 4-7. So the Raiders got a shot at the West. No, I'm kidding. And then 3. Yeah. Okay. So they didn't do themselves any favors yesterday by winning that game.
Well, Derek Carr is probably looking at that and saying, "Hey, I don't want to get bounced out of my. They just signed my boy. You know, they're trying to keep it together over there." And I would say Jacobs gets tagged.
We shall see. But get in on Jacobs. Something's going to develop for this guy as far as a contract is concerned. Either if he does get the tag, that's a guaranteed payday, so maybe that also affects his market price as well. So we'll see. One more game to put a bow on week number 12, and that's Monday Night Football. Tonight it goes down. It's not it's not the sexiest matchup in the world, but it is the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Indianapolis Colts in Indy. A lot to watch for. Obviously, Jeff Saturday's third go at this. A lot of people are like, well, we'll see what happens at the end. He's obviously not going to be the coach of the Colts after this season. I cannot see that at all. I don't care how good they play. They have to figure something out. Matt Ryan getting in prime time, fine. Pickett, was he ruled out?
I don't know if he was ruled out,
with a concussion,
but I'm saying that he's probably not going to go.
That's crazy. So the Mitch Trubisky show comes back and rides into Indianapolis, which, again, not the best look and not good for anybody. Yeah, I think so? Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I think Pickett's a better prospect, but...
Yeah, well, all I'm saying is I would avoid all the Steelers. I mean, is Najee going to get going tonight? Or are you in on a Jonathan Taylor? Who's your plays for primetime? I mean, I know you're not the best at this.
I think Jonathan Taylor's been surging a little bit.
Yes.
And with Jeff Saturday, I've talked about, that argument he had with Peyton Manning on the sideline is very indicative as to how I think this Colts team is going to be down the stretch. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play to their strengths. And they have a pretty good secondary. If you look at it, the Colts' pass defense has been pretty good. I'm not sure Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett's going to be able to create much room there. If there would be anybody, because he's just a baller, it would be Pickens. Deontay Johnson, it's insane to me how last year in the second half he was averaging like 8 yards per catch. I don't know the numbers, but just owning him in 2 leagues, it has to be like 3 yards a catch at this point. I think he has like 3 catches for 9 yards a game. So you got to fade Deontay Johnson across the board. Najee Harris has looked like he's been playing better, but there's a little bit of a high expectation on a player like Najee still. So I'm still going shorting all the Steelers' offense. I think the Colts should handle this one. It's the second half. It's starting to get cold out, even though it's indoors. The Colts play better in the winter. Or the fall, for that matter.
They went on a nice little run last year until it came to an abrupt halt in Jacksonville.
I said they play better in the winter, and then I said the fall, and then I realized, the entire football season's in the fall. So
Mondays
they
here.
They play better when it gets cold, even though they play indoors. Makes no sense. Go figure that out.
Do your math.
It's Monday, and I'm nasally.
Yeah, you're a little nasally. That's okay. Listen, we pass things on. We're business partners after all. We pass things from back and forth in this office.
A long holiday with a lot of people.
Yes. Right? All right. So again, we hope everybody enjoyed their holiday weekend, their 4 days off. If you had off on Friday, obviously you can do us all a favor and you can follow Mojo right now. You can do that by heading on over to all the social medias. You got Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, all at Mojo. Join the Discord, which again, I got involved yesterday. I got to, kind of chime in, see where everybody's playing their playing their cards. They're showing, look, these are the conversations to be had as far as like who you're playing with, who you're shorting, who you're going long on. This is all in the Discord, so join that right now. I know Tom, our buddy Tom, is very heavily involved over there. He likes to answer a bunch of questions, so he is like the human resources for the Discord. He is over there just in every single thread. I see Tom. But anyway, also, I would say also, but just enjoy the Monday Night Football game as best as you possibly can. Be responsible with your gambling and obviously all that stuff that comes with the Mojo Market. But I myself found myself up very, very nicely. You got to take advantage of these multipliers when you have that feeling. And I'm not saying multiply everybody. I'm saying multiply the guys that are a constant. I got a multiplier on Mahomes, Hurts, Tua, guys like that. I just know that are going to continue to keep on keeping on. So Jordan Love. So we'll see what happens. For Dave Sturchio and Chris Gueci, this has been another episode of the Mojo Mark. Are you doing the heart thing?
Jordan Love season.
Oh, God. All right.
It's my first time ever trying to do that, by the way.
That's an emoji now. You can actually just text somebody that, which is the laziest thing in the world. Just text the heart. Anyway, Dave Sturchio, Chris. What? What?
So they're both an emoji. Why is one lazier than the other?
We're out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Enjoy the football. It's back. We'll go around the league tomorrow and sum up everything. Unbelievable.